like if you look at like your top 5, top 10 hip hop albums, right? There's different qualities that make different albums like masterpieces, right? Like, so for example, I would say Illmatic is like a masterpiece. A lot of it is because of how raw and how much of like a milestone it is in the evolution of hip hop. You know what I mean? It's just a guy, it's like a time capsule of like New York at the time. It's just a 20-year-old guy with a mic. The beats are very stripped down and simple, and it's just pure, just raw bars. You know what I mean? He's not trying to be like lyrical, miracle, spiritual, like really flexing. You know, it's very raw. Whereas Madvillainy is an example of like the other end of the spectrum, where it's like a super cinematic album. From start to finish, each song flows into the next one. There's a lot of really experimental samples in there. There's a lot of instruments that are mixed specifically to sound distorted, and it kind of takes you into this super villain kind of theme. And I think it's like two different ways of making music. On one hand, you can probably talk about this as an artist. Like one hand, it's like, oh, I want to make this artistic statement and I'm going to craft it from start to finish as one cohesive listen. And then there's the Nas approach, which I assume was like, oh, he was just making a bunch of songs. He decided to take his like, I don't know how many, 10 songs, his best 10, and put them together.
So that was where I kind of like stopped and was like, wait, I got to get into this video.
Yeah,
At first I was like, I don't know. And then you started talking about the idea of crafting a project from the start to finish with one idea and making all the songs come together cohesively as like the idea. You know what I mean? What were you calling it? What is it? What?
It's like a concept album?
Yeah, concept album,
concept
right?
album, yeah.
Like Damn's a concept album or The Pimple Butterfly is a concept album, right? Twitter is huge on MF Doom.
Right.
My Twitter, the people who I follow, or maybe it might not even be the people I follow, but people that they follow, always gets retweeted that MF Doom is top 5 in hip hop history.
He's underrated, I think.
So I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I never listened to MF Doom.
Yeah.
Were we coming home from Oakland?
Yeah.
We were coming home from Oakland and you played MF Doom and I was like, this shit might be kind of hot.
Yeah.
This shit might be good. I don't know why I never got MF Doom. I don't know why I never got his music or anything.
Yeah.
But like when people talk about him and rate him like up there or say he's above Tupac or above Nas or equal, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. When I listened to it wasn't my cup of tea. Quote unquote.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't prove this with data or anything, but I feel like nowadays people don't listen to albums from start to finish as much as people used to. I feel like because there's such like an oversaturation of music, people are mostly getting things from like recommendations on shuffle. It's more like casual listening.
Playlists.
Whereas like before, when you had to like buy records for the sake of buying a record and you had to like switch out records and stuff, people would like sit, and there was no like split between songs as cleanly as there is now, you know what I mean?
Right.
People had to listen through tapes from start to finish. So
some of my friends who are artists with me have a problem with the idea that making a full 15, 16 song album isn't the end thing no more.
Yeah.
They feel like they need to make a 14, 16 song album. And I'm like, well, you know, people are like, they just want to hear a song. Like, I go for a song, right? I try to see what song is the one that strikes me.
Right.
So with my music recently, I've been working on like 3 to 4 songs. Like, get it in and get it out to people. Don't spend a year working on a full 12 songs, 14 songs for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's hard for people to ingest the music.
Full album.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's also like it's kind of tragic. Like just people's attention span for music is just going down just because there's this oversaturation, you know?
Right.
So a lot of artists who do care about crafting such a whole experience will never have people even like sitting down and listening through the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like right now people are just so used to it being Drake putting out 26 songs and people just, you know, waiting for one of them to pop up on the most popular section of Spotify and then have, you know, that's kind of the approach nowadays. So people are so used to consuming music in that way that I'm sure like artists have to kind of strategize the releases for that, you know?
Right.
Which just means this whole like concept album is just underappreciated now. It's not necessarily dead, like people still appreciate it.
It's not dead.
Yeah.
You just have to be tricky.
You have to be aware of how
you got to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to play the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know who Punch is?
No, I don't think so.
So Punch, I guess Punch is TDE's executive. Yeah, Punch TDE.
Punch TDE. Oh, for sure, yeah.
So Punch has a tweet that I feel like, so is the music so simple and digestible that it don't need that much time spent listening, or do we not pay attention to the words anymore? That was one tweet. I just feel like, it just feels like factory work to me right now. No real feeling and thought involved in making albums. It's volume over substance, business over the art form. The next tweet was, please understand, when I'm making these statements, they're general statements. I know it's absolutely some great quality music out there. It don't apply to them. It's just the factory workers.
Yeah.
So basically he's saying like, there's all these artists who are pumping out music so fast, like, and them artists that are pumping out this like mumble mouth or non-great music are watering down the industry for the artists who are making great music. You know what I mean?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say, me personally, that like this high volume music is like worse music. It's just, that's a new factor, a new aspect of the artistry. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like Drake, I would consider him still a great artist. Because, like, sure, like, his stuff is very, like, generic, right?
Right.
But could you come up with a song every week or every 2 weeks where every single person in the country remembers every line from it? You know what I mean?
Then
like,
you got to remember, Drake has a factory.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
when Drake's out touring, there's 8 dudes in the studio making similar melodies to all the rest of his songs and bringing him back the information, like the song rough drafts when he gets back to the studio. When he gets back, they're like, yo,
it's already
done.
I mean? Yeah,
like check this out, Drake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he takes an hour and he memorizes it and he flips it. So it's like a factory.
Yeah,
you know?
so it's just so much harder for artists to even organically get any sort of mainstream attention, right? Which makes Illmatic so like such a prime example of hip hop at the time in its most original form, because that was in a time, I think it was 1994, where that just wasn't happening. And that's,
well, there was no social media then.
Yeah, exactly. There was no social media.
There was no social media. There was no Pro Tools.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't have an Apple computer.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People didn't have Apples and PCs with a mic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so where they could just rap in their room.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, think about it. You could rap in your room and make songs on your own. You don't need Joe Schmo in a recording studio to make you a star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, the access to being able to record music, I don't want to say it messed music up, but it sped up the process so much to where, when did All American Badass come out?
Like 2016, I think.
People are already like talking about Joey Badass is like falling off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's only been like a few years.
In 2000, in 1998, it would have been okay for Joey Badass to take 2 to 4 years off per album.
Yeah, yeah.
In 2020, it's not okay to not release an Ab-Soul album in 4 years.
Yeah.
If your last album is in 2016, for me, if you're my favorite artist and your last album came out in 2016,
you're still relevant to you. Yeah.
Nah, I'm tired of you.
Oh, that's fair, yeah.
I'm like, well, where you at? Where's your music at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is the label holding you back? Go independent, get off the label, drop your music, be creative, put your shit out. You know what I mean? I want to hear your music from last week. I want to hear your music from 3 months ago. I don't want to hear your music from 2006.
Like, why is it that Nas is still, like, Illmatic is still, like, people still give him, like, the utmost respect, and people put him at, like, top 5 just because of that one album. But, like, it's a shame that he put that out first, because everything after that clearly, like, isn't even close to the quality, most would argue, right? But people still, like, how do you distinguish someone that gets a break? Like, maybe, like, before a certain year, it was just more of the standard that you could drop one album.
So if you're, for me, right?
Yeah.
You should have a project out every year at least.
Yeah.
You should have a project 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When Ludacris was in his prime, that boy was putting out music yearly. He'd have an album yearly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're a new artist, if you came out 2012, 2010 and after, like I want to hear you make music regularly.
Yeah.
I want to hear you make music regularly. Like I might not need a 2020 Run DMC album. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I might not need a 2020 LL Cool J album. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like Joey Badass has established himself.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of the greats. You know what I mean? He's up there with Cole, Kendrick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Killer Mike. I feel like he's up there with all them.
Yeah.
But it's 2020, bro. Like your last album came out in 2016 or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
like,
what makes him different from Ice Cube? Like, why is it that you're satisfied with Ice Cube and not satisfied with Joey Badass? Right? Like, right now, you're not looking for an Ice Cube album, but you're looking for a Joey Badass album. Like, what makes him different?
I feel like Ice Cube, I don't know if he could do Death Certificate again.
Oh, that's true. They already have, like, a...
I don't know if he could do Death Certificate again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if his... And that's where... all right, bam, boom. America's Most Wanted came out in 1990, right?
Yeah.
So America's Most Wanted came out in 1990. Death Certificate came out in 1991. The Predator came out in 1992. Lethal Injection came out in 1993. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Joey Badass releases All American Badass, and boom, he's gone. You know, like he might feel like he got into acting. You know what I mean? He's on the Wu-Tang American Saga TV show. He's a character on the Wu-Tang show. I don't know. I just, you know what I mean? Like maybe you reached the pinnacle. Like, you know what I mean? Like after Kendrick won a Pulitzer, right?
Yeah.
What do you do after you win a Pulitzer?
I don't know, man.
Do you get back into the studio and try to prove a point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, how do you, like, are you aiming for an 11 out of 10? Or is it worth your time to do that? Like,
you win a Pulitzer, what do you really do? You know what I mean? So my problem with TDE doesn't really surround around Kendrick.
Yeah.
Even though I want Kendrick music.
Yeah.
My shit goes into the other artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to keep the other artists rolling. Like, you know what I mean? Like Absol.
Where's Absol?
He's supposed to have another project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like J-Rock won a Grammy, so maybe J-Rock's chilling. You know what I mean? But like these artists are talking about them. Like, you know what I mean? Griselda's like, yo, we need to be mentioned in the name of TDE. We're just as good as TDE. Like, bro, like, all right, well, TDE needs to be like, y'all motherfuckers got hella work to do, bro.
Yeah.
Y'all can't just
if
come at us.
If you're in the same team as Kendrick, you gotta keep putting stuff out. I don't know what it's like to be an artist at that level and how like draining it is to have to think about the next album after you put out.
Right.
Something like All American Badass, but, you know, or even like the last Absol project. You know, I don't think Absol's established himself as one of the greats yet.
Not yet.
He has potential.
No, he has very potential. He's an awesome freestyler.
He's fantastic.
He's an awesome battle rapper.
Right, but I don't remember, like, he doesn't have a project that still sticks out to me as like, I remember listening to this from start to finish. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting that now that's kind of what the game's become. Or maybe it's always been like that. Like, for example, like Lauryn Hill, right? Why is it that Lauryn Hill, I've never remembered anyone saying Lauryn Hill had potential and then fell off, right? Lauryn Hill established herself in one album, but it's Miseducation Lauryn Hill, right?
She's a Fuji.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair, actually.
She's a Fuji.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, she's on ooh la la la. It's the sound of the ooh la la.
Do you think an artist can establish?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
can an artist prove themselves with one album? Do you think? Because I have a feeling Nas is that weird exception where like he just drops Illmatic and that's it. It's over, right? He's one of the greats. But
Nas got fucking It Is. Nas got Stillmatic. Nas got fucking Godson.
That's fair. Yeah, like, I mean, I just never found them to be like nearly as talked about.
Like Nas has fucking like still we will survive no matter what. My people just stay alive.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I guess that's fair. Yeah, I guess he still stayed relevant. I mean, at the time, but when I think of Nas, I just think of Illmatic and that's it.
But then people are like, Nas is the worst beat picker ever.
Yeah.
People are like, Nas is the worst beat picker ever.
Yeah.
And then you think about it. Is 50 Cent Does 50 Cent has hits, right?
Yeah.
But what is 50 Cent famous for?
Yeah, that's
Get
true.
Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah, yeah.
That's his fucking, like, I feel like 50 Cent, more than Nas, is like a one album, like, he has great music. I love 50. Like, I love all of his albums.
Yeah, but it's Get Rich or Die Trying is like not even, nothing else comes close that he's put out. Yeah.
But make sure you follow us.
Yes.
Brian Knockin on Instagram.
Yes,
And
Mellow
Brian
Ryan with no vowels on Instagram, unless I change it again. But
don't change it, bro. Don't change it.
Well, yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Brian Knockin, Brian Shoots Media, Mellow Ryan. We're out here. Keyboard Warriors. Let's do the damage. Garage talk, whatever. Just talking about hip hop and life in general. Peace.
Boom.